This is Entrepreneurs Get Visible, the podcast for people who want more impact, influence, and income. I'm Anna Parker-Naples, and I'll be sharing with you proven methods from leading entrepreneurs that help you get visible as an authority in your field. Because anything's possible when you get visible. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Entrepreneurs Get Visible. Today I'm a little bit overexcited actually because I'm joined by two friends of mine who have just released their new book. And this is not actually the first time they've been on my show. And the funny thing about this is the last time they were on my show, both of them together, I consistently and repeatedly and often said one of these ladies' names completely wrong. And they were just too kind and polite and lovely to not even tell me. And the embarrassing thing was we were in a mastermind together as well, seeing each other on a regular basis. I totally knew who they were and what their names were, but for whatever reason, I got stuck saying it wrong. So anyway, today I'm going to introduce you to Dona Elliot and Cheryl Lee. Hey, it's great to have you back on the show. I think it was probably almost a year ago, since we recorded. I think it was last November. Whether it went out then, I don't know, but it's, yeah. So we are today talking about what it means to become the real you, what this means. I know your work is so much about imposter syndrome and really looking at what you're capable of. And today's a very exciting day. Why is today a very exciting day?
Because our book is out. Our first book, Become the Real You. I'm going to flash it,
For those of you who are audio, Dona Elliot is now doing, I'm going to repeat your surname so many times today. They are both now doing that kind of Blue Peter. Here's one we prepared earlier.
It took over a year to write. It's finally here. And we didn't even share the name of the book till today, Anna. How I haven't. I am such a gobby person, as you know. How I've kept this to myself, I have no idea. I'm just so pleased I don't have to do it anymore, though.
So tell me about your mission with this book.
Yes. Well, the book, Cheryl and I have worked together. For those of you who know us, apologies, but if you don't, we've worked together and known each other for nearly 20 years now. We met in corporate. And when Cheryl's dad passed away just a few years ago in 2018, we had that epiphany moment of just like that, what are we waiting for? Like, we loved our life. We loved what we did love it. It wasn't that we hated our jobs or anything like that. We had very well paid, very respectable careers in corporate. But when you just know there's something missing. And we were very aware that as women, when we talk all the time authentically to each other, it's like you put the smile on, you put the nice dress on, you go out and everything's fine, everything's good. But it's often not. And as much as life was lovely, we've all been through a lot of stuff together, a lot of life lessons that we'd experienced. And we realized nobody's ever really talking about it. When we wanted coaches in corporate, there wasn't coaches like us ever offered. There were always very much career coaching. And we genuinely felt, well, that's not what's holding not what is holding women back. Imposter syndrome, lack of belief in yourself, lack of feeling like you're worthy of success, lack of really knowing what it is you want to be happy is, to us, one of the biggest issues as women we face, because you're just going through the motions of life trying to keep other people happy. So when we got together and we formed our business, Now Is Your Time, we created our signature methodology, which is trademark of the real you. And we're really proud of that because it was all the things that we'd done, the 5 steps when we broke it down. Well, what did we do to change our life? That was the 5 steps. And that's now what we teach, what we coach, what's like the backbone of all of our systems. And effectively, the Real You, Become the Real You book is about that, but taught through stories of ourselves and through our clients with a load of free resources to help the reader create a change in their mindset and in their life.
I think it's shocking how many people really struggle with imposter syndrome. And actually, before we really dive into what that is, we're used to talk about those things. We all come from a mindset background. Yeah. Cheryl, maybe share with us what you really see that as.
Wow. The voice in your head that you think is you, that the thing that's your identity, which is telling you that you're crap, that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy, that everyone else is better than you, that you're going to get found out, that you're a fraud, that you're just winging it, that you're just lucky. I could go on. You're not qualified enough. Like literally, I'm a crap mom. That's what my imposter used to tell me. And when we don't know what it is and we don't know how to silence it, we believe that's who we are to the core and we act on it. Because when we have formed beliefs about ourselves and not being good enough, we don't feel good enough and we hold ourselves back. And when we are in this state, it can then feel really isolating and really lonely. And that's what we found when we've started to talk about it. People have loved the fact that they think they're the only one with this. And as we know, they're not. But we've got perfectionism going on. We're constantly trying to prove ourselves. We're working ourselves into the ground. We're the first ones up and online or in the office, and we're the last ones to log off because we're constantly wanting to be better than everyone else. It's just draining and exhausting. And we've both been there many times. And this is what our clients tell us when they come to work with us. And then we go, okay, you've got imposter syndrome. And they're like, oh, what's imposter syndrome? I've never heard of that. I just thought that was just me.
Yeah. And I've been carrying this shameful burden that I'm the only one who's terrible at what I do and I'm going to get found out. You carry that with you. And there's a lot of shame around that too, which then makes it harder to admit to these things.
Yeah.
I'm really curious as to what those stories were for you. There's always something. I know you've talked about Cheryl's father passing away, but there's usually something that you can strongly identify. That was my story. That's the thing I was doing.
Well, the thing for me was very much, I had like what I felt like was a double life. I was in a very unhappy, very abusive marriage, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. I would earn it and he would spend it. But I would show up at work with a smile, with the nice clothes, with a nice bag, like nothing was the matter. And I felt like such a fake because I kept hearing people say, God, you're lovely, your husband's lovely. And you think you've got no idea, like you've got no idea. So I already had imposter syndrome before I met him. I never felt like I was qualified enough. I never felt like I was good enough. I felt like somebody with my accent shouldn't be paid the kind of money I was paid to work to do what I did. When I met him, it just made it kind of worse. And obviously I met him, I attracted that because I had low self-worth. I didn't believe in myself. So it made the stuff he said easy to believe because he was echoing what I thought. So for me, it sort of imploded in on itself that I kept getting these bigger jobs and more money in the company and then a car. And I just kept thinking it's getting worse because there's now more people to say that I'm a fake. There's more people to realize that I don't know what I'm doing. And if they only knew what I put up with indoors, they would think even less of me than I think of myself. So that was like how it manifested for me. It just always felt like this snowball, like you're just going to get found out. And the anxiety that created of then feeling like I had to like constantly want up myself from the day before, like I'd got away with it every day. It didn't matter that I got outstanding ratings. It didn't matter that I had like the best employee engagement scores like in the company. I couldn't accept it because I didn't think I was worthy of it.
And I think the longer that goes on without you having anyone that you can share that with, the harder it gets to admit.
Who do you share it with? Like when you're the boss and you're like, who do you tell that you actually don't feel like you know what you're doing? Like,
and also your peers, you know, your other colleagues, your friends who outwardly look like they're really successful and happy. How do you admit to them, actually, I'm not in a good place? No. And I think there's an important message here. So I know your audience is kind of shifting and changing. A lot of the people you started working with initially were corporate women, much like you had been before. And that actually there's a wider message. And for many of my audience, and I'd love to know if any of you feel this way, if you're listening and you want to reach out to me and let me know, oh my God, that's me too. I think many of us in the online space, the expert space, who've come into this world because they've got something important to do. The work matters. Yes, they want to make a lot of money. They want to be successful. They want the recognition. They want the income. But really they came into it because they had something important to do, like you ladies are doing. And then it's very easy to then see others winning, see others getting ahead. And then where do you go? Where do you go with that? And a lot of people listening to me now, I know, will be business coaches or mindset coaches. And they're thinking, how can I be teaching other people about success when right now I feel like shit?
Yeah, it feels out of alignment. Yeah.
And look, when we first became entrepreneurs, after having 20 years each in corporate, we were kind of like just sat like looking at each other. Like all of a sudden we've got this online business and entrepreneurs, and quite frankly, we haven't got a clue what we're doing. Okay. So our imposter syndrome was going cray-cray, our inner voice. And we were looking at all of these, like Nick, a coach, and Erin and Emily Williams, and we're looking at.
So we're referring here that the mastermind we were in at the time was with Nick Pigeon. So Nick Pigeon and Erin Haskell as well. He's in there. Yeah.
And they've been around for years.
Yeah, all been around for years, and we were looking at them and going, right, well, you know, we want what they've got. which is great. It's great to model, to work towards it, but we wanted it like now, even though we'd only just like decided to set a business up. And then you start to do the compare thing of, well, how have they got there and what they've got when we can't have that now? And we really had to work hard on our own imposter and check ourselves about comparing. Yeah. Because it's great to look at other people and say it's great what they do, but then you have to take it back to be the real us. Like we had to develop and nurture and build and evolve our business brand and our own selves into molding our business in what was meant to be, not copy of somebody else. Do you know? But
I'm going to just flag up some things here. People who I love those two ladies, but they're both beautiful. And they are living LA lifestyles and they've got millions in the bank. And you think, well, why haven't I got that when my mission is just as important? And I know I can help people and my work does help people. Why aren't I there yet? So what's the answer? What are the steps to making sure that you follow your own path?
It's about, I know this sounds crazy, but we say to our clients, and they're incredibly successful, when they're focused on the external stuff and the money in the bank and all the rest of it, that's actually a lag indicator of what's going on in your belief system. You've got to start with your inner work. Like you can't receive that level of abundance if like mentally and spiritually you're feeling like you're not worthy of it. It's a disconnect. You're like operating on two different programs. So the inner work is really key. You know, the successful entrepreneurs that we work with do a lot of inner work because they understand that the more worthy they feel, the more deserving they feel, the more they feel like they're good enough. It's just like opening up the floodgates for the universe to give you all the stuff that's waiting there. Your money isn't being hidden or kept from you. Your success isn't being. But if you're telling yourself every day, God, I'm crap, I'm rubbish, I'm useless, I'm not qualified, I'm not, well, guess what then? And so it is. Like you'll get whatever it is that you're putting out there because you're a magnet. So you've got to just stop, take a breath and say, I'm right where I'm supposed to be right now. In this moment, I have exactly what I need. I've got a ton of experience and I'm taking the right steps and I'm going to get excited about what's to come. But today I'm just going to work on being the best version of myself. Because otherwise you spend all your life stressing about what you didn't do, which you can't change, and future tripping about what might happen in a negative way, which you have no influence over. All you really influence in the moment is your action and your inspiration right now to do what feels like the next best action and doing the inner work to align to that.
So Cheryl, I'm interested there. I'm aware we didn't come and ask you what was your thing? What was the moment you knew that this had to change? And what has changed for you in how you live your life now?
Because like Donna's imposter and my imposter were I didn't know I had imposter syndrome until like we really started to talk about it in the business when I was doing my NLP training. Because I was one where when I grew up, being adopted, being of a different colour, I'd formed a belief about feeling different. So then I didn't feel worthy, didn't feel good enough. But I developed this like exterior front, which was like, don't mess with me. Nobody mentioned the fact that I'm different or that I look different. So I had this kind of hard shell. And then as I went into corporate, I was a single parent of Holly until she was 11 years old. And I then had to play the mum and dad role. So I had this kind of not good enough, not worthy going on. I'm different, laid with I'm a crap mum because I'm trying to be a single parent and a mum and dad role all merged into one, which just led me to just prove. I was just trying to prove myself. And it was great because I was getting promotions and earning good money and giving Holly a lovely home, but it was never ending. Like I used to be so competitive when I worked in corporate. Like people were a little bit like frightened of us because I was like so competitive, had this front of just wanting to do more and more. And really the competition was all in with myself because I just had this void in us. I hadn't accepted myself. And it wasn't until I went and studied NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and I did a lot of inner work was when I realized that I hadn't found self-acceptance.
Yeah.
And once I become aware of that and found that really helped to shift my perspective and how I live my life, really.
So for someone then who is battling with this at the moment, or is maybe through listening to this conversation, realizing that this is going on in their head, maybe they hadn't realized that the perfectionism or the procrastination actually stems from this thought, this inner voice sabotaging you at every moment. What do you do in real terms? What do you do to actually take control of this?
So it's about listening. So your thoughts become things. So listen to your thoughts. What is it that you're saying to yourself? What are you telling yourself that you're rubbish at? How are you speaking to yourself? Just every single day. And we tend to hate the imposter, like we laughingly call it the bitch as well. One of the chapters in the book is, am I a psycho bitch? It's like, but when you learn that actually that part of you is trying to keep you safe, she thinks that what you're doing is going to get you into trouble. And that fear, she'll do anything to stop you going there and failing, because that's what she thinks you're scared of. So it's about creating a new relationship with your imposter. Give her a name, make her your friend, understand that she's just a terrified little girl. How would you speak to her? And then get very, very conscious about your thoughts are telling you what your beliefs are. Work out, what do you believe about yourself when it comes to being a successful entrepreneur? What do you believe about yourself in terms of being financially free? What do you believe about yourself and your body, about your relationships? And then look at those beliefs and say, are they serving me? Like, what beliefs do I want to create? What beliefs do I need to then embody in order to create the results that I want in life? Because too many people are going around trying to change the result. And until you change the belief system, the result is just going to keep repeating itself. And we give loads of practical tips through the book, loads of strategies, a ton of free downloadable resources, because it's not a silver bullet. Anna, you know this. Yours.
I know. And I think that's something I want to share.
Yeah.
It isn't a done deal. You can do this work, but you have a rubbish week, you have a rubbish day, things happen in your family life or in your business, and you have to go back to this. And you girls, Donna and Cheryl, have witnessed over a 12-month period some challenging things that were going on for me that were hard for me to work through. And like these ladies I'm a master of NLP. I live and breathe this stuff, but it doesn't mean that voice can't come back. It doesn't mean it's gone forever. We have to keep doing the work. And so I will definitely be diving into your brand new bestseller. They've just this morning become a #1 bestseller, Become the Real You, because sometimes you need to hear the message in different ways, in different contexts, collected with different people's stories. And at each stage of our business development, our life development, we need to go back and do the work. Because if you don't, you're sabotaging your own success, and whatever success looks like for you, you're not being yourself.
100%. And the exercises in the book aren't just theory. It's what Cheryl and I have used to, deal with broken relationships, near bankruptcy, being a single. It's all the practical stuff. Like, we want it to be a life guide, not one something you read and go, that was nice. It's like, don't read the book, do it. We want you to do the book, because if you want to change, something has to change.
Like, my mum passed away 12 days ago, like in the midst of the launch. And this is like when Donna and I tell us like our lives aren't perfect, nobody's is. We're going through life. We're using these tools every single day. We mean it, because I wouldn't be able to be sat here today having this conversation in the launch had we not developed this toolkit and we're not actively using them ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going through personal challenges myself. And so what do I have to do? As soon as I notice that the imposter syndrome, or that evil inner voice monster, as soon as I notice it's there, because you don't always notice to start with. You don't notice, because you don't know. As soon as I notice, I have to go back to looking after myself, going back to basics.
Yeah.
What is the self-care? What's the journaling? What's the steps I need to take?
Yeah,
it's so powerful. It's so important. And I'm excited to dive in. So any of you listening, I would love you to go and get your hands on a copy of this. I'm actually putting a link. We have a link to the book launch, which there's some competitions and things that are running just today if you're watching live, but we will make sure that a link to the book is in the show notes as well. So ladies, I want you to just share with me one piece of advice each, short, sharp, snappy, for someone who's in that space right now. What do they need to know from you today?
Literally, like for me, finding self-acceptance, accepting who I was at the core, with all of the flaws, with all of the imperfections, was life-changing. So my advice is, the most important relationship that you must have in your life is with yourself, finding self-love, finding self-acceptance, so you literally can get up every day and live life as your authentic self.
And mine would be, there is nothing that you cannot be. There is nothing that you cannot do, and there is nothing that you cannot have. Get clear on it, own it, and go stand in your power, because this is it, ladies. It's not the rehearsal. This is it.
So powerful. Simple, but powerful. And a lot of actually why, when I created Entrepreneurs Get Visible, it was actually about, yes, we talk about how you put yourself out there, but how you do it as you, how you see your own self first. who you really are, not the one that you've faked up over the last 30 odd years because you're people pleasing, but who you really are, what you really want to put out into the world. So thank you so much. And I'm so thrilled for you. People go and buy a copy of Become the Real You by Cheryl Lee and Dona Elliot.
Yay! 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 Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Entrepreneurs Get Visible. To get your free checklist on how to raise your profile and to find out about our community, go to annaparkernaples.co.uk/get visible.